Hello,
Hi,
I'm Emily,
and I'm Alex.
and we go everywhere.
In the summer of 2021, we sold almost all of our belongings so we could pack up our car and hit the road to see the whole world.
And today we are in the center of Mexico City. Not only the current and modern center of Mexico City, the ancient center of Mexico City.
Well, that was the plan.
As you'll be able to see in a little bit, it's not quite exactly how things ended up happening that day, or even like a few other days that we tried to go there while we were in Mexico City. Thus, the purpose of this video, to bring you our pros and cons of Mexico City. That's right, we're gonna talk about the good, the bad,
And the neutral. Are you ready?
So we spent a month in Mexico City, and most of the on-screen things that you'll see in this video were recorded during the end of our stay there, like within the last few days of our stay there. So we really lived there for a month. Right now, we're not anywhere near Mexico. I mean, I guess we're sort of a little bit near Mexico if you want to be like all relative and technical and
We're on the other side of the border now.
We are actually at my sister's house in Texas because we've been back from Mexico City for about a month.
And we had originally planned on staying for 6 months.
Yeah, we made it 2 months in Mexico.
Surprise to even us.
Surprise to even us. It was not all bad. There were definitely some things that we loved about Mexico City.
One thing we actually liked about Mexico City is the green spaces, the parks. I was impressed not only with the number of parks, but with how large the parks are. What kind of city amenities were offered in these public works areas. You had giant trees and greens areas. You had dog parks. You had, I don't know what you call it, that cement area that had like a theater stage on it that people used.
Yeah, like a pavilion,
Yeah,
like
pavilion.
gathering
That's the word.
places.
And,
Yeah, there was a stage in one of them.
People used it every day that we were there, and we walked by there almost daily, actually.
We went to the park by our apartment, Parque Mexico, in the Colonial Roma neighborhood, which is where we were staying, and it was one of the first places we saw as we arrived in Mexico City. We got up the next day, went for a walk, and I remember saying the words, "I'm never leaving here. I love it so much." Like, that park made me fall in love with Mexico City. Obviously, I did leave, but it was amazing experience. Like, just to have that feeling in such a green space that was just so purposefully dedicated to the purpose that it serves. Like, it's so well thought out. Tons of paths for walking, biking, jogging, dogs.
A giant jungle gym area for children, and an actual gym area for
adult human beings.
Yeah, that I got to take advantage of.
Yeah, there were quite a few mornings we went to this gym and added this to our workout, and it was really fun working out outside.
There's plenty of equipment for everyone that was there. There were numerous options for everyone to do things. People did their own workouts, and there was space. It was nice.
Yeah, it was kind of fun to add something new to our routine and like get outside, add something to our daily walks that we were already doing. And oh, there's also a library in that particular park.
In the park.
So this is probably not what most people think of when they think of Mexico City.
And maybe they should.
You should, because it is evident. It is very clean. It is a very clean city.
And it's not just because it happens to be clean, it's because it's well maintained.
People are always actively cleaning this city. They're cleaning the public spaces, they're cleaning the sidewalks in front of their homes or shops, they're cleaning the windows, they're cleaning the parks, they're sweeping the leaves off of the sidewalk, it's clean.
And like, you may think of like a street sweeper, you see that machine that goes down and like sweeps everything. No, there are people, they have brooms, they have rags, they are cleaning the streets, they are cleaning the sidewalks, like she said. There's active cleanliness happening throughout the day.
I don't remember seeing any trash on the streets, on the sidewalks. I mean, people just didn't really litter, and if it...
How convenient
yeah.
and nice is that?
Yeah, people are already like not making a mess, and if a mess was made, there's somebody to clean it up like within a matter of hours.
For this next one, I want to clarify for everyone that when we visited Mexico City, we were traveling during the month of September in the year 2021. This is still where COVID is running its course. So we were wearing masks most of the places we went to, and you know what? So was most of the city. There was outside, inside, people are wearing masks. Every business we had to enter, they had hand sanitizer, they had temperature checks, they even had foot scrubbers so you don't track in any dirt and mess inside of the place. They had separate lines for entrances, separate lines for exits. This was handled at every place we encountered while in the city. Stores, restaurants, even our Airbnb building had a hand sanitizer at the elevator and did a temperature check on our entrance.
Yeah. I mean, health and safety during the times of COVID in Mexico City, I felt pretty confident. And it was an environment where everybody was taking care of everybody else. Like Alex said, everybody was wearing a mask, everybody was cooperating. If you were walking down the street and about to pass somebody who didn't have their mask pulled up, they would see you and pull your mask up, and then like
pull
you would
their
do
mask
this
up.
Yeah, so it was just very clear that the community had everybody else's best interest in mind, and the precautions were taken very seriously.
Okay, so let's talk about some things that don't make it to the pro column.
In other words, they're not in the pro column.
They're in the big C column, the cons.
They're in the not our favorite thing about it column.
While it's a very clean city and there's people actively sweeping the streets and scrubbing the streets actually too, there's a real lack of public trash cans. It's not the biggest deal, like it's just we have a dog and we have to pick up, after the dog to keep it a clean city. And I walked around the block once and I was like, there's no place to put this. I got to go take it back into the Airbnb, which we did.
It's just
fine.
something that is noticeable when, you're walking and then you have produced some waste in whatever manner.
You're eating at one of these many food carts, you're chewing some gum.
You're like, okay, I've now left the restaurant or the place or thing. Where do I put this? And the answer is like in your pocket or purse or bag until you find a trash can. Yeah.
Okay, this one brings a smile to my face because...
It's another pro.
And one of my favorite subjects, food. There was so much excellent food. And by so much, like, you walk down the street and there will be food carts everywhere. Smells, just delicious foods being made fresh all the time. People on bikes and carts serving you things. You were stopped in traffic, there was someone maybe coming by with some sweetbreads coming to sell you something or a bag of nuts, whatever. Like, the restaurants, like, we have food allergies, and from our Airbnb, we had choices of allergy-friendly foods within walking distance of the place in every direction.
Several choices, like half a dozen choices.
And if you want to see some of those choices we made, please click the link I'm going to put somewhere around here on the screen of our video where we eat our allergy-friendly food favorites of Mexico City. Now, if you're going to drive, or get a ride share for that matter, or even ride a bike, you better be alert, because The roads are not very well maintained. There are potholes everywhere. And then, like, not just like little potholes, like, did my tire come off potholes? Did I leave a piece of the car behind potholes?
Like, my dog fell in there. Like, how do I get him out?
Yeah.
Potholes.
Watch out.
But it is a little, like, difficult to drive because of sometimes the, like, physical road conditions, but also because, like we said just a minute ago, sometimes you'll be stopped at a traffic light and 5 people are standing there trying to sell you something. There's bicycles, there's motorcycles, there's people coming, there's buses coming, like, just always on alert, always.
Every direction.
Always on alert.
Other people avoiding potholes, swerving in front of you. Mm-hmm. Be careful. We were driving at parts of this trip.
Okay, so my favorite thing about Mexico City, if there were nothing else in Mexico City but history, art, and museums, I would still go, because a lot of the museums here and the things that we saw in Mexico City have been on my lifetime bucket list for a while. There's so much culture, so much art. It was my favorite. Now, unfortunately, there were a lot of things that I didn't get to see because maybe places were closed because of COVID or other reasons. But I am still tremendously happy with what I got to experience, like, once in a lifetime thing. I went to both of Frida Kahlo's houses. The fact that I got to go to both of Frida and Diego's houses, I got to go to Teotihuacan, I got to see Templo Mayor from the outside, we got to see Diego Rivera murals, we got to see Orozco Siqueiros murals in the Palace of Fine Arts. There were, like I said, things that we did not get to see because they were closed for whatever reason, but I'm highly delighted with everything that we got to see while we were there in terms of museums. They're great, they're affordable, they're accessible.
Another thing that was going to go in the pro column for us is that for being a city, it's fairly easy to navigate and traverse around as a pedestrian. We walked almost everywhere. It was only like a couple times we actually even got a ride share, and that was because the place it's a big city and we had to get a ride there. But we would walk for an hour or so plus and find our way back with very minimal effort, didn't get lost. It's a good city for that.
It's definitely a pedestrian-friendly city. There's public transport options that we didn't use just because we really like walking, and we were trying to be ultra cautious with COVID and everything. But it's a pedestrian-friendly city. A lot of people live there without cars, so sidewalks are almost everywhere.
And if you don't want to walk, they had bike shares, they had car share service, they had taxis, they had buses, they had like public transit trains. All of these options were available to you, and you could have your own car if you felt like it too.
So one thing that we've noticed about Mexico City right now is that every time we try to walk to the Zocalo, to the center of the city, the main town square, we are prevented by barricades, by police presence, sometimes military presence.
Riot teams that have full-on shields and
yeah, and so like you can see the barricades here. This would be like the most direct route to where we need to go, but we're gonna have to go around to the other side and try to find where they're actually letting people through the barricades to get to the Zocalo. But when we were first here, we think that the main reason for the barricades was because it was Mexicans' Independence Day. They were setting up a lot of things to do there, celebration-wise. Obviously, it's still COVID. We're still in a pandemic. I think that a lot of it has to do with crowd control. They don't want mass gatherings, and the Zocalo is just an invitation for, if it was widely freely open, there'd be a mass gathering. Today, it seems to be for a different reason. There's a protest going on.
Yeah, and you might be able to see some of it over here if we move over this direction.
I'm sure you can definitely hear it.
Yes. It's very bright in the sun. But yeah, down there's a protest directly in front of the Zocalo, the city center, which is where the president's
palace where
yeah.
the office and residence of the president is. Now, from what we can gather, this protest seems to be from the people of Guadalajara. They're protesting. There's Bosque La Primavera is a big forest there, and the government is proposing to auction off this forest, and the people, the residents of this area seem to be here in Mexico City asking the president for help because they do not want their ancestral lands auctioned off by the government.
Okay. This one is going to apply specifically to Mexico City.
Mm-hmm.
There was a large quantity of police officers just around.
Definitely, every time you were anywhere close to the Zocalo, there were, I'm not exaggerating, thousands.
Now, with that being said, while in Mexico City, any of our interactions with the police, which was minimal, besides having to walk by the thousands of squadrons, everyone was polite, everyone was courteous. We actually had a parking meter issue where we could have gotten a ticket on our first day, and a police officer, instead of writing us a ticket, helped us pay the machine correctly and instructed us on how to do it, even though we had a language barrier. He was very kind, and I appreciated that interaction completely. I thought it was amazing.
There were other times where there would be a barricade of police preventing us from going in the direction that we needed to go, and you could go up to them and ask them, I'm trying to get here, can I go through? No, you can't, but go this way.
Yeah.
So, every encounter that we had in Mexico City with police was entirely fine.
Yeah.
But it just seemed like there was a excessive display of police presence and power, maybe? It's very, very, very different than anything that we've been used to in the United States.
Yeah.
You go to a city, you're used to seeing more police than you would just maybe in your day-to-day life if you don't live in a city. But this was like, wait, what just happened here? Oh, nothing, it's just Monday. Well, we've been defeated.
We were going to go to the Templo Mayor, museum of the ruins underneath the Zocalo capital area, but we get to the gate and they're like, nope, you got to go the other way. And then we went the other way and they're like, no, you got to go back that way. So we couldn't get in.
Yeah, so basically the entire entrance point to the museum is blocked off at one street or sidewalk or another.
We walked all the way around. It's blocked.
The entire thing. So in the middle of the Zocalo right now, there's like a giant military installation. I don't know if it's something left from Independence Day or something, having to do with protests going on outside of the presidential palace. I don't know. It's and that's just one thing that we wanted to point out about this city. It can be exhausting because things like this happen and there's not really any way to prepare for them, and sometimes like not even really any explanation as to why.
No, not really.
It's a little bit more clear today than it has been on some days that roads are barricaded off. Sometimes it's just kind of like, I can't for the life of me tell why. But yeah, it's exhausting because we did a whole lot of roundabout walking to find out that we really can't even get to where we planned on going today. So
instead we went inside the cathedral that's behind us.
Yeah, which was great and beautiful. We wanted to do that anyway, but
Roll with the different plans, you know?
Just an example about, you know, how I feel like sometimes this city can be exhausting.
Well, yeah, because we intended to have like an hour-long walk, which is already, pushing it, and it turned into 2 hours.
Yeah, I mean, like, I get it. That's on us. We decided to walk here. We could have easily taken a car or something like that, which we like walking. I don't know if it's so much like the physical exhaustion. It's just the, it's just physically and mentally exhausting because, like, you plan and prepare for one thing and, you find out that you've been here for a month, but you're not, in that entire time, you're not going to get to go to a certain place that you want to go to because it's continually closed off, and there's just no way to know or prepare for that. So,
well, yeah, because we came here because originally the museum was closed, but now the museum's open, but the plaza is closed that holds the entrance to the museum.
So, yeah, you just have to be able to roll with the punches, which is fine. We're going to. But, that doesn't, keep it from being a little disappointing.
We got our hopes up.
Feeling defeated, feeling exhausted, and just kind of going like, okay, now what? Another con that we encountered was the difficulties that we had trying to photograph and make videos at certain points in our trip. Yeah, so another thing that we've noticed in general about Mexico that in Mexico City that is bad for us.
Yeah, it's become a real challenge.
This is our job, which might not matter to some people. It might not be as important to take photos or videos, but there's a lot of obstacles.
It's hard for us to both be in a picture when we can't set up a tripod.
And in some places, we absolutely get like a museum or archaeological zone. They're very strict about not allowing tripods, and that is understandable. But we just witnessed a situation where it wasn't even us trying to set up the photo, but we just witnessed Policia make some people take their tripod down. They just had a simple tripod with a cell phone camera.
Yeah, very similar to our setup.
On the street right here. I mean, show the street so like people can see this is just a public normal street. It's a pedestrian street.
Yeah.
There's no automobile traffic whatsoever on this street. And I have just never seen somebody say they don't allow tripods on the street.
They weren't being in the way of people. They were very low key.
Yeah. Another struggle is, like, not to be rude, but I mean, literally, like, there's somebody standing right there trying to talk to us as we're clearly engaged otherwise.
Yeah. It's not just people like wandering the streets. We've had obvious tourists, like even some people from the UK who are like, oh yeah, like we want to take a picture too. Will you take a picture of us? I'm like, I'm kind of in the middle of something.
Like literally we were in the middle of taking our own photo, like doing something actively like this. Like right now Alex is holding up a camera, we're engaging, we're talking to the camera, and somebody literally just came and stood like exactly out of frame and started talking to us as if we were not already otherwise occupied. And it's not the first time that it has happened. And I know, like, partially that's being in a city or being anywhere or being out there doing this publicly, and I get that. Things are going to happen like that. It's just another aspect for us that's been a little bit difficult to adapt to in this city that's a little overwhelming and overstimulating at times, and
bump in the road. We'll figure it out. Okay. So, one thing that people may not at first consider a con is Mexico City, we learned and were surprised to find out, is at a very high elevation. I'm not actually sure what the altitude is there, but it's at the top of a mountain.
It's over 7,000 feet, Alex.
Why, thank you.
Yes, it is a very high elevation, which I didn't think of. I just didn't think of it. You think of a city, first of all, in central Mexico. It is like the 5th highest elevated city in the world.
The whole world. And how does that make you feel when you're up at that high elevation?
So if you know anything about elevation, you can experience elevation sickness, you can experience hypoxia, you can experience lack of oxygen. Now this usually happens when you're traveling from a lower elevation to a higher elevation or vice versa. It is something that kind of can come acute onset, within like a matter of a few hours or a few days of being there. But when it is a long-term issue, we discovered, for me, as somebody who has quite severe asthma and quite severe anxiety, the altitude wasn't really friendly for me because you have a harder time getting oxygen. There's less oxygen in the air, thinner air as they say. You have trouble breathing in, you have trouble supplying your lungs and your brain with the oxygen that it needs, and when you're already a little bit incapacitated in that area, can super exacerbate any feelings of anxiety that go along with a change in altitude. So we were there for a month, as we say, and by the end of that month, I was struggling. I was not only struggling breathing, but I was struggling because my anxiety was at an all-time sky high, not just because of the elevation, but because of that lack of oxygen, but also because of all the other factors that are involved in being in a city. Obviously, we all know that cities can be overstimulating. And another thing that might not seem like a con at first, because we love cities.
We usually like that hustle and bustle.
I mean, when we first got there, for the first few weeks anyway, I was just like, ooh, it's so loud, I love it. Ooh, I can't even sleep at night because the bar's playing music, and I don't know, I like it. I like even the activity and the noise, and you never feel like you're alone. You always feel like something's happening, something's going on, even if you're not there. I think that, we've talked in the past of how we can both see ourselves ending up in a city. We both lived in cities. We like them. Mexico City is a whole different level of city, unlike anything that either of us had ever experienced before in terms of overstimulation. So, like we said, there's noise, there's traffic, there's cars, there's people, there's bus, all of these things that you expect in a city.
And then you're having trouble breathing on top of that.
And trigger your anxiety. Now, anyway, I mean, that's just like a few of my thoughts on the matter. I don't know, how did you feel about it, Alex?
I think you kind of covered all the emotions right there.
Mm-hmm.
You had anxiety talking about your anxiety. weird thing for us is that when we travel to Mexico City, I said at least a couple times a week, I felt like I was time traveling. I would walk down the street and I'd hear music from every decade except the current decade.
There was one time.
Mm-hmm.
There was one time we heard a current song.
Oh, that's right. Once. That's right. Once. Everything else was no newer than the 90s. Not that it matters to me. I love old music.
It was just in general everywhere we went, like shops, restaurants, the places
Live
that
performers on the
you
street.
hear. Yeah, yeah.
I heard a lot of like 60s rock, which I like. I at least know those songs.
Yeah, so like there were parts about that were charming.
Mm-hmm.
And there were parts
factor
that
in
weren't.
with the currency exchange rate, the prices felt like you were time traveling too. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I felt like those stories that like your dad or your grandpa used to tell you about, like, I remember when a price of eggs cost whatever, you're like, oh, it kind of feels a little bit like, nostalgic, like you might be living in a different decade.
And to go along with that, because that part all sounds like positives in the first glance, is that it has kind of the ideals of the yesteryear. It's a very, I guess the word's misogynistic culture that's going on there. Very much, for example, Emily got catcalled while we were there, which is a terrible term, and awful practice.
I would just say that there's like a level of maybe street harassment there that is higher than other places. And I know that this can happen anywhere. This happens to people I see all the time on social media, people that are maybe out doing a photo shoot or a YouTube video or filming. You're already kind of in a way, people are gonna pay more attention to what you're doing just by nature of you're doing something a little out of the ordinary. It's never okay. Street harassment is never okay. And it's still not okay even if you're in a country or a culture where, it's more accepted as a behavior. We were definitely not okay with it, but it was something that happened often, and it was notable and it was uncomfortable. So there were like some super cute ways that Mexico City felt like the 60s or the 70s, and there's definitely like that throwback vibe there, even with some of like the design of the businesses and the restaurants and the shops and the there were some super cute elements to that nostalgic vibe, and then there were some super not cute elements of it. So yeah, kind of like
there was both.
There was both in that instance. And another thing that was just like maybe kind of neutral to us, good, bad, it kind of depends on what you like. The weather was interesting. Like it happened. Weather happened.
And you know what? We put it in neutral because it was good, bad, and neutral because multiple times a day you had every kind of weather.
Yeah, we saw all of it.
You start with a sunny, beautiful, clear day and end with a rainstorm.
That might last like 30 minutes. It might last a few hours. And, there was a variety of weather. Like, we were warm at times. We were cool at times. But
one particular day, it was raining all day. So we're like, okay, fine, we bundled up. And that day ended with a 7.0 earthquake, which I don't know if that qualifies as weather.
That's not weather.
But it happened.
But it did happen while it was raining, and that is weather.
Yes.
So, yeah, we experienced a lot of weather and changing of weather, and I personally think that can be super interesting, especially when you're slow traveling, because you can, see what it's like. We were there in September, so, it ranged from sunny and warm to drizzling cold.
And everything in between.
Yeah.
So, that has been our points of view of good, the bad, the not so either way about Mexico City. We don't want to tell you one way or the other about if you should travel there. Please make up your own mind. If you want to go, go. If you don't want to go, don't go.
Have your own adventure. That's what we always do.
Exactly.
And we're just here to tell you like what we took away from it. And there might be something in our pro or con list that you would have vice versa, you know? So yeah, definitely do your own exploring, because that's really the fun way to do it.
And if you're going to go, hopefully some of these things we pointed out to you will just, you know, help you make your decision about how you're going to travel.
Or you'll be prepared for them, and they won't be a con to you because you're like, I knew that was going to happen.
Won't be a surprise. So thanks for watching. Please, if you haven't, and if you like this video and you want to see more, please subscribe to our channel. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. We really appreciate it. I'd love to hear your thoughts about our video in the comments. And feel free to watch our channel where you can see our entire trip to Mexico that we're uploading.
What am I pointing at?
She's pointing at our playlist.
Oh, am I? I didn't know.
It could be the subscribe button.
What's here? What's here? Hey guys,
there's going to be something here, and there's going to be something here.
Here. Hey, we're going to Canada next.
So,
That's
if you want to see anything about Canada, please subscribe to our channel so you don't miss the videos as they come out. We have a new one coming out every Saturday. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you again. Bye.
Love you.
Ciao.
Was that awkward?
A little bit.
Okay, I love you. Bye.